He's from Nairobi. He came to the temple in 1991, and he was serious from that time in his Krishna consciousness. And we were actually, I don't know if Madan Gopal knows, we were stuck on the same flight from Mumbai to Nairobi. And that's the time he went to Juhu temple and he got this BTG magazine that he read that Lord Shiva is not supreme, Krishna is supreme. And this little boy of age of 16, he saw it and he realized this is the ultimate truth and he followed it till date. Now he has a lot of laurels, lot of degrees to his what should I say, academic qualifications. I think Madan Gopal, you please introduce your academic qualification. His spiritual qualification from day one till date is absolute. You know, I was there with him in America also. I saw what he was doing there. He never, I think, lost his spiritual, what should I say, advancing. I think for a day, he's been fixed, firm, and till date he's fixed. The thing I can add is when he was going to US, my heart was bleeding that he's going to US. He'll become 100% Karmi, but Krishna got him everywhere in the right place. He went to the university, started a youth club. He carried on, he got initiated, he married a beautiful devotee girl, he's got a beautiful son, and all of them are practicing, all of them are serving. But his academics, I think Madan Gopal has to introduce himself because they are also worth knowing. Please, Madan Gopal.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for your kind introduction. So my only real qualification is that I have been the recipient of mercy and blessings and prayers of some very astoundingly powerful devotees. You know who I'm talking about. I won't say the name, but you all know
Please.
who I'm talking about over here. From a very young age, and that is really my only qualification. Otherwise, these are external things. Anybody, you know, it's not a big deal. Not everybody wins the lottery. So I feel lucky that I won the lottery of blessings from so many devotees. And that's all that matters in the human form of life, is the prayers, the blessings, and the good wishes of those who are close to Krishna, that then we can also become close to Krishna. On the academic side, I went to Oswald High School in Nairobi, and then I came to the US. I did a bachelor's degree, and then I got a master's degree here at Penn State University. And then since then, I've been working in the computer field as an IT manager for about 20 years or something. I work for a financial company, a global hedge fund. Those are just external things, but by the grace of the Lord, I've been blessed with a nice family also. My wife's name is also Mansi Ganga Devidasi. She got initiated. She shares the same name with Mansi Ganga Mataji. And my son's name is Madhava, and he's going to turn 18 years old this year. And he's going to start college in a few months. So that's where we are. I'm associated here in New Jersey with our ISKCON of Towako, New Jersey temple. And our temple has been operational since 1981. And we are also in the process of building this brand new temple. If you see behind me, this is a brand new temple that we're building. This is just the artist rendition. If you want to know more about it, you can just look at iskonpasipani.org. In fact, we're starting the walls of the construction sometime next week now. It's a very exciting time for us. So I'm one of the managers of the temple, and I'm also in charge of the communications department. So that's what I serve here. And I do some of the fundraising services and things like that. So simple life, very grateful. And I'm particularly grateful for this wonderful Eldoret group to give me opportunity to share whatever little bit I've learned in Krishna consciousness. This Eldoret group is very consistent and solid in coming regularly. Every single day we have at 8 p.m. Bhagavad Gita study sessions and reflective reading of Bhagavad Gita, understanding it,
Krishna,
it in our lives, and things like that. So thank you all for welcoming me and considering me part of your family.
Our pleasure.
So what shall we do next?
What do you want?
Yeah, the plan was that if you recall last Monday, today is Saturday, I think it was last Monday, we had a special session on improving our Japa. Japa is chanting Hare Krishna on the beats, Japa meditation. And we reviewed a number of very powerful techniques. So I wanted to get some feedback from the devotees who attended it on how, if they've had a chance to try to apply any of those principles, if they got some good thing out of the class and saw some benefit, and when they tried it in the Japa, how it helped them. So I would like to request any one of you to maybe say a sentence or two or something, that if you have any input on your experience since that class with your own Japa. So you can go ahead, you can unmute yourself if you like to say something.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I am Jessie here. I was only just 5 minutes that day, maybe, but I have listened nicely. And two things: I used to do japa in the morning. I used to sit on the sofa relaxed and do my japa, but now I sit erect and do it. And I used to say it very slowly, slowly. Now I say it loudly, a bit loudly. I feel somehow connected. Means I don't know. I'm when I'm doing japa, I'm not there. I'm just doing japa. That's it.
So this helped you a little bit in connecting.
Yeah.
Closer. Thank you.
And two questions I have, if you don't mind.
Sure.
One thing is when you say when you're doing japa, you have to have a Diksha. So is Diksha important to do Maha-Mantra?
Okay, so that is not a fact that you need to have Diksha in order to do Maha-Mantra. However, to make the full spiritual circle, it's important to be connected in the disciplic succession. We need to have connection with Krishna through the authorized representative. So the formal method of doing that is the Diksha process. But the Japa, the Maha-Mantra is recommended for every single person, and it has a powerful impact. Now, suppose I've been doing Japa for 10 years and not gotten Diksha, 20 years. And then when I get Diksha, all that Japa that I did will be part of my bank balance. It all remains bank balance, but that is considered your wealth at the time of Diksha itself. So it adds so much value to your own Diksha because you bring in so much experience and so much depth with it. So any chanting that we do is never wasted. And Diksha is the act of formalizing the relationship with Krishna through his representative. But doesn't mean that we cannot chant Japa if we have not received Diksha. I mean, if that was the case, we would not be asking the devotees to chant. At least 1 year, you must be chanting 16 rounds before getting Diksha, right? So we're supposed to chant. The moment you hear about the mantra, the moment you recognize the importance, you should jump into chanting as soon as possible and chant as deeply as you can, definitely.
Okay, Hare Krishna, thank you.
Anybody else have any comments in their experience? If any the things we discussed helped them, anything they liked about it, maybe they haven't tried it, but they liked something that they want to implement.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
We apply 4 gates. We apply 4 gates. So we feel very big difference. We feel better. Thank you for the advice.
So those of you who missed the 4 gates, I'll just quickly summarize. The first gate is that we apply our external situation aligned with the holy name. You sit properly, you chant clearly, and you make your sacred space very nice and quiet. And you apply all the principles of what you can externally. Second gate is make sure you employ your mind in recognizing that Krishna is his holy name, and you don't allow other thoughts to come in the mind. The third one is let your heart and your feelings connect to the Lord. You pray to the Lord for, you can express thanks, express gratitude, appreciation. These are feeling saturated, expressions. And or you can even express something like remorse, that you feel sad that we wasted our lives. So these feelings we can offer to the Lord during Japa. That helps us connect. And then the fourth gate, the Lord opens the gate of mercy, and we'll feel the presence of the Lord. So there are the 4 gates, and we want to apply them to show the Lord that His holy name is very important to us, that we appreciate this opportunity. It's not just a burden, but rather it's a chance to connect. We look forward to it. It's not that we have to chant, it's that we get to chant. We're lucky we get the chance. Not that, oh, today I have to chant my rounds, now I still have to chant. We should not say I have to chant. We should say I get to chant. Should be happy about it. And that can only come when you have tasted it. And that can only happen, like Prabhuji, Sashwin Prabhu was saying, you feel nice. So when you feel nice means you will develop a taste. If you don't feel nice, that means the taste is not there yet. So develop the taste is not that difficult. We just have to follow these 4 gates. And for sure, something will come out. Some taste has to come at some level or another. Yes, Kirtika Mataji, you had a comment also?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I'm requesting everybody who wants to contribute to raise their hands as I have done, so that because we have 35 participants today, 37 now, it will interfere, because I know 2 or 3 people like Divi is raising his hand now. But since I'm talking, let me share my experience. I've had few, but I'll share one with the group. So the first day when I started to apply the gates are the first sitting posture, having the right atmosphere, which I always had. So it was in the same place that I chanted. The second gate was getting my mind to it, and I learned that I can control my mind with the orange juice jug experience that Prabhuji had shared with us, because I thought I could not control my mind, but now I've learned that I can. So I'm telling my mind, I know I can control you, and I negotiated with my mind. And I said, okay, we'll leave everything else later on. Let's get on with this. Just one Maha-Mantra at a time. Let me just chant one, listen, and pay attention. And it did listen. But then this third gate, the first 2 days I was trying very hard, in the sense, what should I be doing? Oh, I should be doing gratitude. Oh, I should be doing appreciation. Oh, I was referring to my notes and running up and down in my thoughts, and it destabilized me. But then the third day, it just came naturally. So I think when you pay more attention to details, you get lost somehow. At least I got lost somehow. But I've had very good experiences with it, even if it is 4 days now. I have now also started chanting while walking, which I never used to do because I thought that was not allowed. And it has revealed a lot of things, because I thought, people might think I'm mad because I'm just talking to myself and chanting, but I don't care. I think even the flowers and the grass and the atmosphere around you is responding. Maybe I'm hallucinating, and maybe I don't know whether it's the truth or not, but I feel everybody is with me. I guess I'm looking for association, for having a chanting group or a partner or something like that. And I found it. I found it in nature. So I'm chanting with the trees now. I'm chanting with the grass, the small, small flowers. And it's the same route that I've been walking every day. And they never did anything to me. But now they are with me. So that's one experience that I had with this third gate. And I'll give the chance to other people because I don't want to share and hog up the time. Another day.
That was a wonderful sharing. Thank you so much. Is it Divyesh Prabhu? You can go ahead. Is that Divyesh? Is his hand up?
Yeah. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for sharing your valuable slides and simplifying method for chanting. The one thing that I found most useful was the posture. And I realized if you sit properly, you can focus more on the chanting and on the prayers and in connection with the Lord, because then the bodily pains and the bodily discomforts don't really disturb you, Yeah. So the way you told us to sit forward on the spine, I found that the most useful was the posture. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And sometimes people don't recognize the importance and the power of that one simple instruction. But that one thing changes the whole game, actually. Sitting straight changes the whole game completely. It is wonderful. Thank you for bringing that point up, because people think it's a small thing, but it's not. It's a very powerful thing. It's sitting up straight. It's not optional. If you want to really improve and you make your posture solid, you will feel a million times better. See, the holy name is powerful, whether you focus or not. You know, the power of the name is never going to diminish. Okay, but when you focus and apply everything, then you develop a taste. And when you develop a taste, then you can do it day after day. Otherwise, maybe after a few years, we'll give it up. Or after a few years, we'll be so worn out, we're just dragging ourselves for it. It's not the best way of doing anything in life anyway, right? What's that example we're setting? If I'm dragging myself in chanting, but I'm preaching and say, you must chant Hare Krishna, what impact will my preaching have? If they don't see the happiness on my face, what impact will my words have? Okay? So it's important, Prabhu, that we, like you mentioned, really be strong in our chanting. Thank you.
No, thank you for the posture was very, very important. And then also the other thing that changed my perception was when you said quantity and quality. And the example that you gave of the rice being cooked in the best of waters.
Yeah.
So I actually used to think it was just quality. And I said, as long as you chant quality, but what I've realized is that true, if you've got amazing rice cooked in front of you and then you're only given 3 grains, how would you feel? You know? So that changed my perspective. So these 2 things were the most important for me. The posture and also quantity with quality. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Wonderful. Kruti has her hand up. Go ahead, Kruti.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Kruti.
You know, when last time when you were teaching, I said about I couldn't let other thoughts go away from my mind. Yes, and then this the third gate you talked about has really helped me when you said name is heart deep and not lip deep. And now I'm very thankful and yeah, I can concentrate.
That's wonderful to hear. If at a young age you can get in the practice of concentrating the mind and the intelligence, because that's the hardest thing to do, even in an older age also, that's one of the hardest things to do. So if you can maintain that practice, you will see after a few years, you will be very grateful that you put in that extra effort to keep your mind on track, because life doesn't get any easier as we get older. Life gets just more complicated. So when you have a strong base, then those silly complications, you recognize them as just being silly and petty. That the main thing is focus on Krishna. Other things, they'll happen how they're supposed to happen. But if you develop this strong foundation at this age of focusing the mind when you're chanting Krishna's name, then whatever life throws at you, you will have the intelligence and the strength to deal with it in the best possible way. So thank you very much, Kruti. Wonderful, wonderful. Bharat, Prabhu, Bharat Shet, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you if it's possible to see, because I just joined the group today by chance, that is Krishna's wish. I just came across this by chance. And what I've seen from other participants, it's very interesting. It's very interesting, but I need to see the first session. Is it possible you downloaded it on YouTube or?
It's there on YouTube, Prabhu.
Okay, how can I get the link?
So we will. I'll have Kirtika Matadi share the link on the group over here. But it's
okay.
There.
Thank you so much. Just very fast, I just want to ask you one thing. As a newcomer, I don't have much knowledge about the whole thing, but I know the Maha-Mantra. Is it okay, or is it this class level too high for me?
No.
Bharat, this.
Yeah.
Madan Gopal, sorry. Bharat, is that Bharat Seth, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I'm Mansi Ganga from Nairobi. I'm happy you're there.
Okay, it's nice to see you, Mansiji.
So, Madan Gopal, he's very regular at the temple, although he cannot give too much time as such, so speak on that level. He's not as neophyte as he's trying to portray.
Okay, fine. I won't take too much of the time of the group, but I'm glad to see a familiar face as well.
No, Bharat Prabhu, thank you for the question, and it's a very good question, and that question doesn't matter how advanced or whatever we are. The main thing is the chanting process available because of the simplicity of it and the power of it. By the way, in the chat box, you can see I've put the YouTube link of that class.
Okay, thank you so much.
And this one is my copy, which has a sound on it. I think you have to fix the other copy, which doesn't have proper sound. This one has a sound on it. So yeah, Bharat Prabhu, your question about the chanting process, and of course, that's the power of Krishna's holy name, right? Nam Namakari Bahudha Nija Sarva Shakti. That Krishna has invested all of his potencies. Sarva Shakti means every power that he has. And you can imagine how much power Krishna has as God. Every single power, his power of attraction, his beauty, his strength, his power to influence people, his power to keep the universes floating. Every single power that Krishna has, he has put in his holy name. Namnamakari Bahudha, Nija, his own, Sarva Shaktis. No Shakti is left out from the holy name. So anybody who chants Krishna's holy name, whether he knows the power, he doesn't know the power, whether he understands the meaning, doesn't understand the meaning, even whether he pays attention or not, it makes it as a joke, doesn't matter. The power will act upon the one chanting. If we can chant,
I feel so.
Yes, you feel.
Yeah, I feel so much better because I didn't want any dosh, any mistakes, anything that would cause more problems than I already have, and everybody has got too many problems at the time being.
Yes.
So good. You put my mind at rest, and I hope I'm not taking again too much time for all participants. Please carry on, and I thank you so much, Hare Krishna, to you and Mansiji.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
And to all the participants.
Thank you. Rachna Mataji, you had a question. You can go ahead. Rachna Mataji.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. After listening to you that day, and then when I told you my problem that after a few recitations of the Maha-Mantra, I get pain in my temple area because I start yawning,
Right, yeah.
And yes, and you had suggested that you put clove in your mouth, even though one shouldn't eat while chanting. But I didn't try that because I got my root canaling done. Nevertheless, but I've started chanting more than before, and time is no consideration now. Like even if I'm up at 1:30 and it's a beautiful pleasant breeze outside the house, so I'm walking, and taking the holy name. So there is certainly been a connect again due to the blessings of Mansi Mataji, you, and all the other past participants. And there was one little doubt that I had. I wanted to know that if we are reading the Bhagavatam, we are reading the Gita, or doing the Gayatri Havan and doing Tulsi Puja every day, will that be also considered as in a collective pool of putting in our ahutis towards Krishna consciousness? Or is it only by taking name, and one should focus one's energies only in taking the name and not doing any of the other things?
Very good question. Especially when we hear that in Kali Yuga nothing else works, only the holy name works. Then why am I also doing the reading? Why am I also doing the Tulsi Puja? Why am I also doing the bowing down to the devotees? Why am I also taking care of the deities? Why am I preaching on the streets? Why am I building temples? Why am I feeding people? Why am I cooking for the Lord? If holy name is the only way, why am I doing all these things? The answer to that question is a simple answer. Is we are doing all these things to support our worship of the holy name. For example, we talked the 4 gates, right? Sitting up straight. Sitting up straight by itself is not going to take me back to Godhead, but it is supporting my process of chanting Hare Krishna. If I'm sitting slouched, or if I'm lying down or being disrespectful, it will not create a good atmosphere for my chanting. Ultimately, chanting is the only thing that matters. You see, when we preach, we strengthen our own conviction in the holy name. So when we do the Tulsi Puja, we get the blessings of Tulsi Devi that we can chant holy name properly. You see, anything we do in Krishna consciousness, as Srila Prabhupada has given us to do, the whole thing is centered around ultimately what makes us remember Krishna deeply, and what makes us chant Krishna's name deeply. You see, so that's the whole point. So don't stop doing those other things. When we read, we
Okay.
strengthen our, in fact, we should not be lazy. That's another point. We should not be lazy in the matter of understanding philosophy. Mahaprabhu taught us that. Siddhanta chitte boliye na karoy alash. You know alash, the word alash? We have in Gujarati also.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Don't do alash in this understanding Siddhanta, because iha hoite Krishna name karoy sudrida manash. It makes the mind very sudrida when we understand philosophy strongly. So philosophical understanding in itself is not the main goal, but to support our chanting process, you see, and strengthen it. So we should do all those things that are required. And we'll talk about that in today's class. Okay. All right. Thank you. Good question.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dev Gupta Prabhu, please go ahead. You can unmute yourself. You have a question or comment?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Okay. My question is like when you are doing the japa, 70% of the time you are okay, 30% of the time it goes here and there, the mind, thoughts come. How to come out from that?
Can I interrupt a little bit? Can I introduce Dev Gupta also, like Bharat? He's also been connected with our temple as far back as when the temple was small, always donating us blankets and things. So I'm so happy he's here on the program. Thank you, Dev. Haribo.
Thank
Okay,
you, Mansiji. Thank you,
answer.
Mansiji. There is one more request, like whenever you have this program, if you
Yes.
can circulate on WhatsApp message, because as soon as I saw the WhatsApp message, I subscribed it immediately.
Yeah, Madan Gopal helped me to get on to people today. So from now onwards, you will, definitely.
Thank you, Mansiji, and nice to see you.
Chalo, Madan Gopal.
Okay, so you had a question. Sorry, I didn't quite get the question. Or you had a comment?
Oh, no, he had a question, and a good one. Sorry, Dave, carry on. I was
get the full question.
Okay, when I'm doing the japa, 70% of the time it is okay. 30% of the time mind goes here and there and thoughts come. How to come out from those thoughts?
Okay, that's the whole question. Okay, so if you 70% of the time you're focusing and 30% of the time your mind goes here and there, then my obeisance is to you, because my ratio is not that good. Mine is the other way around. Mine is 30%. Maybe I can do a little bit. 70% goes here and there. This is not.
If the thoughts come, how to come out from those thoughts?
Yes. So, a very good point. And this is one of the most difficult things. Even Arjuna recognized very important, very difficult. He said, control my mind is like controlling the wind. So, not easy to control the mind. However, when we are chanting Hare Krishna, Japa, and we see that my mind has gone off the tracks, at that point we should pause and bring the mind back on the track. This is Krishna's explicit instruction in Bhagavad Gita also. He said, from wherever the mind wanders, you bring it back. The bringing back part becomes easier when we are aligning everything towards Krishna. We have a picture either of Krishna in front of us or a picture of the Holy Name in front of us. We're sitting straight. We're not looking anywhere else. Our phone, everything is in another room. Even the watch is another room. Nothing else is going to distract us. And we keep it quiet around us. We keep in a room where people are not going to disturb us. If you're doing all those things, then it's easier to bring the mind back. The whole world is against us chanting Hare Krishna. And by the whole world, I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about the whole material atmosphere. And the material atmosphere means our own material consciousness. Keeps thinking of this and that. So naturally, these thoughts will come. Whenever we catch ourselves not thinking of Krishna or not aligning with the holy name, then we bring the mind back. Okay, this is not the time for me to plan my day. Forget it. If I find myself, okay, at 8 o'clock, I'm going to do this, and at 9:30, I'll do that. No, wait, stop. I can do that stuff later. Stop. Right now, just focus on Krishna's holy name. That's it. So whenever we find ourselves mind wandering, we have to bring it back. That's the only thing. And that it gets better with practice. It gets better with practice. And it particularly gets better when we taste the sweetness of the holy name. And the taste can come when we have given everything we have, especially when we're employing our emotions. So emotion is a big key. If my mind is saturated with remorse, my Lord, I wasted my life. Please forgive me. Please give me a chance to serve you properly. Please give me a chance to serve your name. Then that emotionally saturated mind will not wander here and there because you're busy crying. Why do you think it's important to cry? When you're crying in deep in the heart, where is the mind going to go? When the child is complaining to you that, today I was bullied in school and is crying and crying, you think the child is thinking of anything else? Is it even possible for the child to think of anything else? No, because the emotions completely line up the mind. Mind becomes insignificant in front of emotions. We know that. When we get carried away by emotions, even our intelligence cannot help us. So let us charge our emotions toward Krishna. When we employed emotions have so much energy that intelligence, mind, none of those things can come in the way. So if our emotion is aligned with Krishna, appreciation, gratitude very strongly, then we'll much easier to control the mind. That's what I can recommend.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, there's another question. Like when you're doing the japa, sometimes tears come in the eyes. What does it mean? Is it good or?
It depends on what causes the tears. If the tears were caused because someone was cutting onions next to you, then that's not good.
No.
I'm just joking.
You are sitting in your you're sitting in your prayer room and then it comes. You're concentrating and suddenly the tears come.
Yes.
What does it mean?
It's a good sign. Depends on what you're crying for. You see, if I'm crying,
I don't even know what is happening. I don't even know.
No, sometimes what happens if my emotions, because see, yesterday I invested $200,000 in a particular stock and today it's worth only $500 because the whole stock crashed and I'm crying. Those are tears. They are real tears. They're real emotions. But what is the source of that emotion? The source of that emotion is my attachment to my money, not my attachment to Krishna. So we have to analyze.
No.
No, you follow
those type of those type of thoughts don't come. Thoughts come, you are completely concentrating on Krishna and then the thoughts come. But that tears come.
Yes, exactly. So my point is tears are very good sign, especially if the tears are, not due to attachment to matter. They're not due to, so it's okay. It's fine to cry tears in front of Krishna. Krishna, I lost all my money. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It may not be the highest.
But they are not coming.
No, I'm just
they are not coming due to any material thing. They're not coming due to any material thing.
I'm giving examples. They could be material, but if there is no material thing, if you are crying because you're missing Krishna, that's very good. So there are good tears and there are bad tears. Ultimately, if you're crying tears in front of Krishna, they're all good tears, is my point. You see. Why? They're all good. Even if I'm crying for loss of money. Why? Because I'm crying in front of Krishna. Krishna, I'm feeling heartbroken. At least I'm turning to Krishna instead of doing it on my own. That helps. My point is tears in front of Krishna, whether they're materially motivated or they're spiritually motivated, overall they're good. If they're spiritually motivated, they're very powerful and means that we are making progress and we can leverage that. Later on, what happens if I'm crying for material things, later on I realize, my Lord, I'm sorry I cried for those things. And I still cry. But now I'm crying because I'm sorry that I cried for the wrong thing. So you're crying because you cried. Tears in general are always a good thing in front of the Lord. In general, always.
Thank you very much. And I want to say big thank you to Mansi ji. To see her after a long time is my fault. But I know her from last 30 years. Thank you very much, Mansi.
Thank you. Okay, we have a question from Ravi Prabhu. Ravi Prabhu, go ahead. You have your hand up. You have to unmute yourself. You have to unmute yourself.
I think I'm on mute. Yeah. So if you have a powerful drug, it normally will take effect very fast because of the sickness. You've just said that the Maha-Mantra is very powerful, etc., etc. But how come we're having problems having effect on myself for a start after all these years? Where is the power? There's no power?
The power is there. I'll give you an example. You know, when I'm going, if you're driving by car from Nairobi to Eldoret, sometimes the roads are not very smooth. Some places the roads are not the best. And if the car is going at 80 kilometers per hour, even 100 kilometers per hour, and sometimes you can feel you're going very fast. Now, imagine you're going by flight, Air India, from Nairobi to Mumbai. You have 30,000 feet in the sky, but you don't even feel that it's moving. You feel that this is like when I was a kid, I used to take those flights. I'm like, when are we going to get to Mumbai at this rate? I can't even feel it moving. But that plane is going at 600 miles an hour. 10 times more than on the road when I could feel the power. So just because I'm not feeling the speed doesn't mean the power is not happening. You see, that is one point. Just because I'm not feeling doesn't mean I've not made progress. Okay, that's one point, that Krishna's chanting of the name will have effect. However, how much effect it has does depend on us also. That is that purport Srila Prabhupada explains. Anyone can chant Krishna's name, but not anyone can chant it with feeling. And when we chant it with feeling, we will feel the effect. When we chant Krishna's name with investing our emotions and heart, and if we do it day after day and year after year, we will feel the effect. If we failed to invest our emotions properly while we are chanting, if we just chant while we're thinking of other things, planning other things, if we chant distractedly, then that becomes offensive chanting. And offensive chanting, even though it has powerful effect, it is nowhere near the power of offenseless chanting. So offenseless chanting means we give it full attention, we invest our full emotion, and we prayerfully approach the Lord. So that chanting certainly guaranteed. If you do that week after week, you tell me for sure, you follow these 4 gates that we discussed the last time consistently, and if you do it every day for an hour or 2, or whatever time you invest, but the more time the better, at least an hour or so. If you do it every single day, you tell me after 6 weeks if you don't feel substantial attraction to the holy name. You will, 100% guaranteed. Why? Because you've given everything, and then Krishna gives you back your investment for sure, in the form of recognition that this process works, a form of satisfaction, and a form of taste. And that taste, you say, oh, you know, I've chanted for 30 years, but finally now I've decided to put more, my full energy into it, and whatever you put into it, Krishna gives you. That's why he says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante. To the degree you come to me, I will respond. That's how he responds. And to give him our full attention is not that difficult. You know, don't need money for that. Just need attention. So definitely you will feel it. 100%. You will see miracles. Guaranteed. But you have to do your part also. You know?
Having been given this human birth, which is a privilege in a way, why ask for so much investment in his name? So much time, so much dedication. Surely we have been given a human birth for enjoyment and other things.
Very good question. Very good question. And I'll explain to you, I'll give you the perspective for it. One last point you said that we have been given the human birth for enjoyment. That statement is not really supported by any of our shastras. It's not.
The senses have been given anyway, but the senses
have been given not for enjoyment, but for service. But let me just give you the perspective. Suppose you bought a lottery ticket, okay? And the lottery ticket was 300 million shillings, and you won the lottery. Now, to collect the 300 million shillings, you have to drive down all the way to the lottery office, show them the ticket. If at that point you say, what is the point? I have to take the ticket now. I have to drive all the way there. I have to walk up the stairs, open the door, sit down. Those things become so insignificant when you realize the value of your ticket. You don't complain about having to go to the office, never. You look forward to it. You don't complain about having to drive. You don't complain about opening the door. You don't complain about filling 100 forms I'll fill out. You give me my 300 million. You will fill as many forms as they ask you to do. Why? Because you know the value. You will never complain about any of those steps. Why? They may be inconvenience, but what are you getting in return for the small 2-3 steps? You're getting so much. So devotee recognizes that this human form of life is a lottery ticket, winning lottery ticket. Now the steps required to become Krishna conscious are so minimal by comparison to we never complain. Oh, we have to chant 2 hours, ridiculous. No. Just like you don't complain about filling out 20 forms to collect a 300 million, you will not complain when you recognize the value of what you have been given. It's a matter of perspective. Devotees recognize the value, and non-devotees do not recognize the value. That is the key difference. I hope you follow my analogy.
I have to understand this $300 million or whatever it is, meaning the value, and it's not easy.
Yes. So that's the thing, that most of us who are conditioned in the material world do not realize how much of a winning lottery ticket we have received. That is the devotee's job, to convince himself from the scripture as well as to convince others by practice. And as we practice, we realize the value starts flowing. When that first few, dollars start coming through, suppose they're giving you in 30 installments. When the first installment comes through, then you realize, oh, this is for real. So when devotees, they first start and you feel some satisfaction, some bliss, some joy, some ecstasy, that is the first check that came through. You see, then you read, oh, the rest is still coming. I'm going to keep doing it. That is how it works. It's a matter of perspective. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good question.
Very interesting.
Okay, we have a question from, okay, so they already did it. Saurabh, Suman Prabhu, go ahead. Saurabh, Suman. Question? No. All right, maybe they're not there anymore. I'll request Caroline Wayua. Caroline, please go ahead with your question or comment.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Caroline.
Yeah, this is a very, very interesting discussion. One thing I wanted to ask is, how do you teach children to chant? My son is 5 years old. He's gotten how the 16 words in the Maha-Mantra, but when I ask him to chant, he's usually complaining that he's too tired. My fear is he might not like it. So how do I help him to chant better, or even to start liking to chant?
Yeah, this is, see, parenting is a very difficult thing, especially because little children, they may not want to focus on certain things. They may not want to do things that are considered boring. And sometimes chanting can be in the category of boring activities. So as parents, it is up to us to try to make the whole thing very fun. So we make an event out of it. We put some pictures, we put some flowers if we can, or light a candle or something like that. And then we show some excitement. We explain first, okay, now listen children, this is the time when we have our appointment with God. This is my appointment with Krishna. And this is the chance where I can connect my heart with Krishna and enjoy the happiness that Krishna is giving. So now you watch me, and I'm going to chant, and then you chant after me. So then in the beginning, you do one mantra, make them do another one, and then you encourage them. Wow, your chanting was so powerful. I'm sure Krishna was very pleased. Then you can increase to one round or something like that. Then after a few days, so we make it regular. If you make it regular and make it a lot of fun, you show a lot of excitement yourself about it. You make an event of it, and say before dinner, you do one round or something like that. If you make an event and make it regular, then it becomes like a practice, a routine, but a fun routine, something you look forward to. So we have to put a lot of color in it, a lot of flavor in it, like any food. If I just give them plain ugali with no salt, they're not going to like it. But if I put some nice thing that they like about it, at least put some salt, some spices, then, so we have to flavor it and recognize, make them understand the excitement about it. Now, children do not listen to what you say. That is a rule of thumb. Children don't listen to what you have to say, but they watch very carefully what you do. See, so if we ourselves are excited about something, we don't even need to tell the children to get it. In fact, we have to tell them, okay, look, I'm chanting Japa, I'm having a good time, you don't disturb me. At that time, they will come and they'll want to chant Japa with you. Why? Because why only you get to have a good time? I also want a good time. So if you make it fun, we make it appointment with Krishna, it's a good time, very positive. And then after doing it, you don't say, I'm tired, I chanted my Japa. Whew. No, wow, this Japa session is fantastic. I tell you, I want to do another one, but I don't have time. Maybe tomorrow I'll do 2 more. But today we have to do cooking, everything. But oh my God, how much fun that was. If we express like that positivity, it'll get people excited, the kids.
Okay, yes, thank you so much. I like the idea of making it an event because I was very, very serious about it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. Like, I have to get into the mood of a child in order for them to understand it. Thank you very much.
Child and make it fun. Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
can I interrupt, Madan Gopal?
Yes, please.
Hi, Bo. You know, there was a mother, you know what she would say? Take your, as a punishment, take your bead bag and go and sit in the corner. I told her, "Wow, chanting is a punishment. Take
Yeah.
your bead bag and go in the corner."
Never do that. When they grow
So
up,
it
they'll
has
never
to be
want to.
like you said. Yeah. It has to be fun time. And you know, with the 5 year, I know very hyper, but you can also be in each japa, the mantra, you know, then they love it as fun. You're so right, it should be an event. They look forward to, not as a punishment.
Yeah, yeah. See, with my son, what I used to do, I used to read to him sometimes, like I would study Bhagavatam with him, even when he was 5 years old. I used to read to him, and then one day he would read to me. And then he would say, okay, Daddy, now repeat after me. He would become my teacher. So I would encourage him to become my teacher. When he takes the responsibility of being the teacher, then you can take turns. Okay, today is Saturday. Saturday means now it's your turn to be the teacher. Now you tell me where I'm going wrong with my chanting. And then you chant wrong by mistake. It's chant Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. And then the child will correct you. Mom, why are you chanting wrong? Let me teach you now. So we encourage them to be teacher also once in a while. This way, when they take the responsibility for being the teacher, then they will feel that if I am the teacher, I better know how to do it right myself. I better set a good example for my mom. She doesn't know anything, you know. So then it'll be amazing how much they'll blossom, and they'll take a sense of responsibility. So once in a while, make them the teacher also. You know, yeah. Okay, next one. Saurabh Suman. Here we go. Saurabh Suman. We're trying, but somehow, okay. Priya Govinda, please unmute yourself. Somehow, yeah, okay, go ahead.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Jai, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, we are sometimes struggling with our japa, and we are struggling at least to chant the minimum of 16 rounds. But in one way or the other, sometimes we are committing so many offenses like the Vaishnava Parad. So how can we overcome that? Because in the Shastakam, in the 10 offenses, the first offense is actually is to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord. How can we counter that?
Yes, that, Prabhu, is a very good question, very deep question, and very relevant question. When we commit offenses towards the holy name, then it is like trying to light a fire. You have some firewood from the forest, very good firewood, and you're trying to light the fire. But while you're lighting the fire, you're also pouring some water. So with one hand, you're pouring water, making it wet. And then on the other hand, you're trying to light it. Your matches are being ruined. Your lighter is not working anymore, but the fire is not lighting. Why? Because I'm pouring water over the wood. So committing offenses is like pouring water over the firewood, and then we are frustrated. We think that those two things are not connected. We may think that chanting is one thing, and then my interactions with the devotees, that's a separate thing, because I do them at different times. So if I pour water at 3 o'clock, and then 3:30 I'm trying to light the fire, then I wonder, last week it was lighting, but today it's not lighting. How come? What am I? Maybe something wrong with the wood, something wrong with my matches? No. Just half an hour ago, I put water on it. That's the problem. So definitely we need to avoid all the 10 offenses. Now, each and every offense is a whole class in and of itself. Certainly the first one, the reason why it's the first one is it is the most damaging one, is the offending to Vaishnavas, to those who have dedicated their lives, people who have given their lives to Krishna. And even those who have not given their lives, but they're chanting Hare Krishna, they're trying to improve their Krishna consciousness. Anybody who is a devotee, they're special, they're Krishna's children, they are the ones who have received mercy, and they're also trying to improve themselves. So we should not offend them. What does that mean, to offend? To create some offense? And offense doesn't mean that, if we're dancing the kirtan and by mistake, I bump into you and then I don't say sorry. Of course, we should say sorry. If you recognize, you should say sorry. But that is not really so much offensive. What is offensive is when I maintain some sort of malicious intent towards another devotee. When I'm being unfairly envious, or I wish that something bad happens to them, or I get angry at them because they said something to me, and then I spread some lies about them, or I spread some rumors about them. Those kind of things are hugely offensive because it comes from a place of malice. Malice means hatred and a desire to damage that person, to hurt that person. So that negativity that might develop in our hearts towards any devotee, we need to first of all examine the source of that negativity. And usually the source is our own insecurities, that maybe some, sometimes, if I feel that I'm not good enough, then I try to make myself look good by talking bad about somebody else. See how bad that guy is. He can't even sit properly. Look at me, how nicely I'm sitting. That is one example. But we try to show ourselves good by talking bad about somebody else. That is not a way to show ourselves good. The way to show ourselves good is to serve other people. Then we will become good, and then we realize it's not any important to show ourselves as good. Why is that important? Important thing is to make devotees happy, to serve them with a sense of sincerity, because we know when we serve the devotees, we'll get the mercy of the Lord, we'll get the mercy of the devotees. Even if the devotee hates me, it's okay. Maybe I might have done something wrong. I'll apologize to the devotee. But if we develop a sense of humility, a sense of service, appreciation of devotees, then the negativity will not happen. These temples, these groups, these interactions, these sanghas, they are there for us to exercise the opportunity of service, exercise the chance of developing relationships in a positive way with Krishna through his devotees. This is the mechanism. So if we focus on the positive, and the moment we find some maliciousness developing in the heart, we sit down, examine it, and throw it very, very far away. And then if we have done some offense, then we approach the devotee and say, Prabhuji or Mataji, I said that day, and actually I was upset, but I didn't mean it. Please forgive if I've made any offenses. If you don't forgive, I will not make any progress. Kindly forgive. At that point, even if they don't forgive you, Krishna will forgive because you've asked for forgiveness. But generally, the devotees are very soft-hearted, they'll forgive. So this is a big topic, Prabhu. I mean, it can go on and on. But in general, we want to avoid the offenses.
So I was asking also, what is the best way to pacify a devotee?
Yes.
To pacify a devotee.
It depends on what we did, right? So best way to pacify is to demonstrate a sincerity, especially if you have offended them, and to express our appreciation for them. Now, when we express appreciation to a devotee, it is important to express very specific appreciation. The more specific, the more sincere. I'll give an example. Prabhu, you are a very wonderful devotee. That's not good enough. Not good enough at all. Prabhu, that day you dressed Radha Banke Bihari so nicely. And I'll tell you, that particular turban color that you used, it matched with the thread that was going around, and the backdrop matching was fantastic. I mean, seriously, I really liked it a lot. And you have to mean it. And it seems that your love for the Lord is coming out in your artistic capabilities. It is increasing my own appreciation for the Lord, and I want to thank you for that. Now that is very specific. The more specific, the more sincere it will be. It will really win the heart of the other devotee, rather than saying, Prabhu, you're a nice devotee. That's not good enough. Go for specificity. Then they will know you're paying attention to the service. They will know that you actually care what they did. They will know that you are thinking like, at least what they did is being noticed. Those things really mean a lot. Anyway, this is, like I said, this is a big topic. We can go on for it, but it's a little bit.
So, if we can offer also some prasadam also to them also.
Of course, offer some prasadam that they like. You know, if I don't like Karela and you give me a whole platter of Karela, it may not appease me. But if that is your favorite sabji and you tell Prabhu, this is my favorite one and I think you will like it, maybe I'll eat it just to make you happy. But if you know that I like besan laddus and you gave me a whole box of besan laddus, I'll be your servant for life.
So, okay, one more question. The last one, sorry, to take so much long time. There is these flattering devotees and also glorifying devotees.
Yeah.
You know, maybe one, you're glorifying devotees sincerely from your heart. And also, we may also be flattering the devotees when we are not meaning the same. So, how can we differentiate between the two?
Yeah, so like I said, right, if you are specific in it, then it's not flattering. If you're very specific, okay, and what is your motivation in glorifying them? Right, your motivation is that, okay, now I will be able to control them. If you genuinely believe in that person's greatness for that particular service, then you should express it. Okay? Then, but if you want to just say to them, but in your heart you don't believe it, then you have to first sit down and examine, why am I even doing this? Why am I trying to flatter this person? When, if I don't believe this devotee is there, first of all, why do I not believe this devotee is important? Let me first examine that. So let me look in the mirror and say, why should I think this devotee is a bad person? First of all, that should never happen. Maybe something wrong in me in trying to find fault in him. So first we need to identify that. Then we will not flatter. See, flattering comes when you don't believe what you're saying. If you genuinely believe that this devotee is great and you express it, that is not flattering. If you don't believe he's great and you still say, oh, a microphone, this devotee is so great, this, and in my mind I'm thinking actually he's not good. That's called flattering. So we have to first examine, why am I thinking negative? Otherwise we should glorify. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay.
Hare Krishna,
thank you very much.
There is a question on the chat, and on the same, on offending the devotee. What if you are offending the devotee in thoughts only? You don't do it physically, but in thoughts.
Yes.
And then there is another question on Nama Prada, in particular 10th offense, not about not having faith in the holy name, but how do you stop material attachments? So let's go on to the devotee in thoughts and then that one.
Yes. So offend a devotee in thoughts. Okay, so this is something important to know. In this age of Kali Yuga, we do not get punished for committing sin in our mind. In the previous yugas, you get punished for committing the sin in your mind. If suppose in my previous yuga, I think, oh, now today I'm going to drink a whole bottle of alcohol. I get the sin of actually drinking the bottle. Just thinking about it. I get the full sin. But in Kali Yuga, you do not get the full, you don't get any sin for thinking it. However, we should recognize the danger of thinking it. The danger of thinking, because our thoughts are the first thing, the first step to leads you to actually doing it. So that in Kali Yuga, you get what is called a warning. You recognize the thought, oh, I should not have thought like that. Why did I think like that? That should be your number one priority. Put everything aside. Why did I think that this devotee is a bad person? Put down what you're doing and ask yourself. Maybe because he is doing the same service that I do, but much better than me. Maybe because I saw him, he talked very roughly to someone else, and I'm thinking, oh, he's a very, very rough person. He's a very bad guy. In fact, I can only imagine what he's doing at home. He must not be following all the principles. Then our mind goes a complete track because we see him doing something that's not ideal, that is not the best. And then our mind then starts creating some things that may not be true. And before you know it, you have built up a whole image that this person is a demon in the disguise of a devotee. There, the mind tends to go negatively. So we have to first ask ourselves, why did I think like that? And then we have to find our own weaknesses, our own lack of broad-mindedness. Those are things we have to examine. So if I offend a devotee in my thoughts, then I first find out why I thought like that, why I create offensive mentality. And then in my thoughts itself, I can offer obeisances to the devotee and serve that devotee in my mind. Then in real life also, I will go and offer obeisances and express some sort of appreciation. So if I offend a devotee in my thoughts, then I will go and express some appreciation in person, actually, physically. We don't have to tell him that, Prabhu, I offended you in my thoughts. You don't have to tell him that. However, you can say, Prabhu, last week you organized the book distribution party. It was so good. I mean, you're very thoughtful. You packed every kind of book we wanted. We touched so many hearts. You are a real asset to Prabhupada's movement. You make not flattery, but genuine expression. This will help us counteract these offenses in our thoughts. It also helps prevent offenses in the future. Also, if in the future by mistake I say something that may come across as offensive, he will find it much easier to forgive me. Why? Because I've expressed 10 times, I expressed some genuine appreciation, and one time I complained something, he will find much more possibility of forgiving me, because mostly I'm appreciating. So that's why when we have a sangha of devotees, always look for opportunities for genuine appreciation of each other. And this way, we feed each other's sense of security, and we boost each other's confidence, and we feel that, then devotees feel they are recognized. So make sure devotees are recognized. Not flattery, but genuine recognition. These kind of things will prevent an offensive atmosphere. And we should do it on a regular basis. So that is one approach. And I think there's the other question about Nama Aparadha and the 10th offense. So the 10th offense is not having complete faith in the holy names and maintaining material attachments after understanding so many instructions on this matter. Okay. So, what does that mean to maintain material attachments? And what does it mean to have material attachments? The wording is very important. Having material attachment is not the problem. The problem is maintaining the material attachments, strengthening them, watering them, feeding them. If I have a particular material attachment that is detrimental to my spiritual growth, I should first of all recognize that this is bad for my spiritual life. Then I'm chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I have the attachment still. Having the attachment does not mean you're committing an offense to the holy name. Because when we start chanting the holy name, we'll have many attachments that are not good for us, for our spiritual life. But we should recognize in our mind that I am targeting these attachments for gradually unloading them from my life, gradually removing them from my life. I am confident and I am prayerful that the chanting of the holy name will gradually help me unload and remove these material attachments. So this is the mindset of a devotee who is chanting. And if the mindset is that I have targeted all this for removal, then that is a very positive mindset. It is an offenseless mindset. The offense listed, it says we should not maintain the material attachments, which means if there are 20 attachments and instead of drying them out, I add to them. I dream about them more and more. I think of different ways to make it more doable. I do things that make it more, these attachments even stronger. That is the offensive part. Okay, that is the offensive part. So maintaining the attachments is a problem, not having them. So we have to recognize that material attachments, suppose I have a strong attachment. I'll just give an example of having 3 Mercedes cars. Right now, I only have 1 Toyota car, but I must have 3 Mercedes cars. That is not necessary. My Toyota car is doing fine. Maybe if this one goes bad, I'll get another Toyota. It's fine. It doesn't have to be 3 Mercedes cars. But I like them because they're so smooth and everything is so nice. I want luxury. Plus, 1 is not enough. If I have 3, then my friends will be really envious of me. 1 is not enough. So that is a material attachment which is not very good, because my motivation is to make my neighbors envious. So now I become a devotee and I recognize, oh yeah. And then even while chanting, I'm trying to find out ways I can finance my 3 Mercedes cars. I'm trying to find where I'm going to put them. I'm doing research on which are the latest models. No, What is the point? As a devotee, I recognize that simplicity is important. I don't need 3 Mercedes cars. That's just one example. I hope you follow. So maintaining is the problem, not having them. Okay, so we can continue.
Madan Gopal, sorry to interrupt, because all these souls that have come in, Madhurupa, we were together in Kisumu, so she's joined today from Kisumu. She attended your previous class, who last minute I was phoning her, look, join, and she was very happy. And she joined today also. She's very philosophical. Why is she not showing her face to everyone, Madhurupa?
I don't even.
She's from Kisumu.
Oh, here, there it is. I see her face. She's out there. Madhurupa Mataji. Hare Krishna.
She's a very kind of quite an old devotee, very philosophical, very intelligent.
Oh.
Hare Krishna.
I'm very happy she joined.
Don't praise like that. But I see.
Haribol.
Haribol, Haribol. I'm very happy. I got really very clear explanation and I got really very nice answers. So I'm happy.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All right. So are there any other questions? Any more? So it's already 1 hour plus. So what do you advise we do?
You have to keep coming every week, Madan Gopal. That's the only advice we can give you. Every week, you have to allocate at least 1 day a week, right, Kirtika?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, I think every Saturdays the slot has been now filled by you.
Yeah, fixed.
Yes.
Because
unchangeable.
You just did a very fast session of chanting, and it gave us so many questions and so many experiences. So I think we'll really need your association. We are in a neophyte stage, and we'll really, 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 really appreciate if you can give us that 1 hour. We don't want to take a lot of your time. Just 1 hour is enough.
Okay, so I'll have to review that and get back to you on that one. So whenever I'm available, definitely I will let you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't know if there's any.
So can I ask a question?
Of course.
On the same, chanting. The very first time, even before you came to the session, you said that you said for yourself that I was including my chanting in my work, but now I'm including my work in my chanting. Can you elaborate on that one so we understand better exactly how you can do it practically?
So maybe I didn't express it clearly. I didn't say I'm including the chanting in my work. What I was saying is that before going to this Japa retreat I took back in a few years ago, this chanting used to be something that comes in the way of my work.
My expression was incorrect. Yeah.
Do so many things today. Today I have to go and I have to water the plants. Then I have to go out and buy some groceries. Then I have to fix the car. Something's wrong with it. Then I have to spend a couple. I have to then call some of my friends, see how they're doing. All these things. Then I also have to do Japa. Oh my God! Before it was like that. Japa is something that comes in the way of all the things that I want to actually do. Now, after recognizing and tasting, after recognizing the importance and tasting the sweetness of the holy name, the whole perspective changes. Then all these other things we have to do, they come in the way of my japa. Oh, today I'm going to chant. Oh, see, but I have to also do this. So the perspective completely changes. Now, japa is not something that is yet another chore to do. Japa is something, the main thing in your life, more tasty than even eating the dessert. This is the main tasting that I look forward to. It's like I look forward to breathing after holding my breath for a whole minute. It's like that. So my goal is that I want to develop more and more taste, more and more addiction, you can say. Addiction means, like, generally the word addiction is for something negative, something destructive. But one of the effects of addiction is that the addict cannot think about anything other than that particular drug. And even when he's doing other things, the thoughts of that drug keep distracting him. You see, so that is our attention to Krishna, our affection for Krishna's holy name should be that level of intensity. Even when we are cooking, we think, oh, I can't wait to finish this thing so I can do one more round of japa because it's so sweet, And then after doing one round of japa, then you come back, finish your cooking, then do another round. In between things, you look for ways to squeeze in some japa. Why? Because it's so nice. It's like having a nice bottle of the perfect juice that you look forward. You take one sip, you go back, do some more work, then you come back, you take another sip. Why? Because it's so tasty. So the holy name should be like that. If I'm doing some gardening, I can be having the bottle with me while I'm gardening. Of course, I'll have a bottle of water and then I have my japa in my mouth. So I'm gardening, nothing is stopping me from chanting japa. And doesn't mean that if I'm gardening that I cannot enjoy the sweetness of the japa. It can be the same level of enjoyment as when I'm sitting up straight. If you develop that practice, it can be just as enjoyable. So that is my point, is that prioritize and change the perspective. So Kruti has a question. Go ahead, Kruti. You have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. My question is actually, it has 2 points.
Hey, turn on your camera.
One.
Everyone's turning off the camera nowadays.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. So my question, it has 2 points actually. One point, it's too hard to explain about Krishna consciousness to the people around me.
Okay.
Yeah, and the people who don't understand, they usually get judgmental about it. So what do you have to say about that?
So the question is, how should we deal with that when they are judgmental? And also, people do not understand what I'm doing. So certainly, you're not the first one to have experienced this. Some people are so judgmental about your Krishna consciousness that they will arrest you and they'll beat you in 22 marketplaces, but still you will continue chanting. So this happened with Haridas Thakur. He was arrested and he was beaten very violently for chanting Hare Krishna. So of course, I hope that doesn't happen to you. I'm just saying some situations are like that. So what you're going through is not abnormal, it's normal. And then generally, people tend to be judgmental about everything. That necessarily is not a bad thing. I mean, we use judgment all the time. So being judgmental in and of itself is not a bad thing, because we're also judging things. We are constantly judging. Okay, we should go there. From my judgment, I think that's a good idea. That's a bad idea. The judging is not the issue. But when someone makes a judgment based on ignorance, when they make a judgment based on something they don't even know, right? Then that is called prejudice. Prejudice means doing something prior to making a good judgment. Judice means judgment. It's some judgment, right? And prejudice means prior judgment. You've already made a judgment without knowing anything about it. That's why it's called prejudicial. So sometimes we experience prejudice in form of racism or so many things, prejudice. Similarly, even among spiritual practices, someone can be prejudiced. They make a judgment negatively that, oh, how foolish it is, what you're doing. It's silly, it's old-fashioned. There's no such thing as God anyway. So it is very, very normal. But we have many things to our advantage. One thing is we recognize that our understanding of the situation by the grace of Krishna is much more holistic. It is much deeper than their understanding. Their judgmental attitude and the prejudicial attitude is because they don't know. If they actually knew, they would be sitting right here with me chanting. But unfortunately, they don't know. Second point, they don't want to know either. You see, don't know, but if they want to know, that's a good thing. You can teach them. You can explain to them. And third thing is that our sense of security should come from our process and knowing that I am not the first one doing this Krishna conscious thing. I have a solid long line of the most brilliant people in the history of the planet to have been doing this process. Starting all the way from Lord Brahma, the creator, Narad Muni, and then all the solid acharyas, and our greatest acharya in modern times, Srila Prabhupada. We have the backing of the greatest system of philosophy in the world. Second, we have the backing of some very nice, supportive devotees. We have the ISKCON society. So knowing this, all this, our sense of confidence should come from that knowledge. Now, sometimes people are inimical towards us, so we need to learn to ignore them. Sometimes some people are innocent and they're curious, so we need to learn how to gradually explain to them, maybe explain to them why it's so attractive. And also look for opportunities to share Krishna consciousness in certain ways. For example, prasadam. So you can take some prasadam cookies or some prasadam sweets that you make at home, offer to the deities, and then you take, suppose, you go to school or something, you can only eat one piece, but you take 5 pieces and you share those 4 pieces with some friends. That prasadam has a very nice effect on them. So when you share prasadam, and then you tell them, this prasadam, I offered it to Krishna, and this is the process, and you give them an example. So when you open up the topic, sometimes people will be curious, what does that mean, offering? Then you give the example, like sometimes the father gives the child some chocolates or some candies, and then the child opens the packet, and the first packet the child gives the father. Imagine how happy the father feels. The father feels so happy, even though the father is the one who gave the sweets. So this is the way to show love to God, that God has given us all these foods and everything, but when we offer back to him, it's just to show our love like the child shows the father. So you explain something like that, you'll touch their heart. Of course, if they're open and innocent. So you tell them the meaning behind this, what they think is rituals. In Krishna consciousness, we don't do any rituals, nothing ritualistic. It is all an act of love, and love is never a ritual. If I give some sweets to my father, it's not a ritual, it is just act of love. The same thing, we do everything as act of love. So when you explain like that, sometimes their ears will wake up. Oh. And I tell you, this work when I was in high school, and I was just starting, I only started learning this about 3-4 months, and I started sharing with one of my school friends. And you won't believe it, within 3 months after that, I was sharing. He was curious, and he started chanting with me. He got his own beats, and me and him used to hang out in the break time. In the break time and lunch break, we used to hang out. We used to have the blazers, Osho Rai blazers. I had my beads in my blazer pocket, and we used to chant Hare Krishna together. And he started chanting very deeply. He became even more serious than me. Unfortunately, at 3 years after that, he was shot in Nairobi and killed. But I was living his car was stolen by some thieves, and he was shot and killed. He was only maybe 19 years old or something at that time, or even less. And his father had never written to me. He found out where I was living in US. He found the address, and he wrote a long letter to me expressing thanks that you gave Krishna consciousness to my son, because I'm sure he was chanting Krishna's name. Now you can see the value of sharing Krishna consciousness with somebody else. And I had only started myself. I've only been practicing 3-4 months. So it's not like I was like a great preacher or anything. I was just sharing what I found was very amazing and awesome. And it touched the life of one person, and it improved his next life for sure. So you never know when you share Krishna consciousness who you will end up touching. But that comes from your own confidence. You have to be confident, and you have to be nice to people. If someone is mean to you, you don't need to be mean back to them. That's the only thing. Good question, Kruti. Anyway, this is another very nice discussion. We can go on and on.
Thank you.
Okay, Vishwa Prabhu has a question. Actually, Mansiganga Mataji missed Kruti's question. Kruti's question was, if people are judgmental in my Krishna consciousness, how to deal with it. If other people they don't understand my process, how should I accept it? So this is just one response. Vishwa Prabhu asks, what would you say is the process for atonement of sinful activity in Krishna consciousness? Do we just chant and assume our wrongs have gone away, or what would someone do? Yes. So this is if we read Srila Prabhupada's books, there is no separate prayashchitta or process of atonement recommended for devotees. If we have committed some sort of sin or some sort of wrong, or some sort of offense. Of course, if it's an offense to a devotee, the process is to ask forgiveness directly from that devotee. That all comes under the process of Krishna consciousness. But generally, the term atonement or prayaschitta in the Karma Kanda section of the scriptures, they have certain specific atonement principles and practices. For example, if you stole someone's cow, then the atonement is that you stand on one foot in the sun for 3 days or something like that. And of course, you have to still return the cow. So I mean, I'm just giving one example. So in Krishna consciousness, there is no process of atonement other than the process of Krishna consciousness itself and cultivating a sense of remorse and a regret. It is a regret and remorse that washes away the sin. And when we chant the holy names, then it also gets washed away. You see, in the Bhagavad Gita also Krishna has a verse. It says, Apichet sudura charo bhajate ma mananya bhak sadhureva samantavya samyak vyavasito hisaha. That even if one commits the most abominable actions, but if he remains steady in his Krishna consciousness, he should be accepted as sadhu or a great soul, because he has re-established himself in Krishna consciousness, and his mind and his situation, he has situated himself correctly. That is the point. So we must make sure that we remain situated in Krishna consciousness. We put our full effort in not hurting anybody else, not breaking any principles, not breaking any laws, not stealing, things like that. These are all general laws. And if we end up doing them by mistake or anything like that, we should have a sense of remorse. That is atonement. Okay, next question. Kirtika Mataji asked, is a chance of getting superiority complex in Krishna consciousness? That is one. And then people may consider us narrow-minded. I think those are two different things. So definitely.
Haribol, Madan Gopal Prabhu, are you okay with all these questions and your time? We won't worry about you. You have to worry about yourself.
Yeah, I'll let you know when I'm out of time. I think I can do another 10 minutes. That's it. Then I have to go to another one. So
great, thank you.
Yeah. So yes, superiority complex is always there, which is why actually when we progress in Krishna consciousness, we need to develop humility. If we do not develop humility, then we cannot chant constantly. We cannot do kirtaniya sadahari. Right? We have to tolerate like a tree and be humble like a grass. So humility needs to be cultivated. It needs to be encouraged. And as we progress in Krishna consciousness, the natural effect is to be actually more humble. However, it is possible to allow ourselves to trick ourselves into thinking I'm so great. It's a very complicated thing. Like there's a saying, it's very hard to be humble when you're so great, but somehow I'm managing, And somehow I manage, even though I'm so great, I'm humble. So this idea that I'm so great is it's very deeply rooted in our heart, and it can come out especially as devotees, because we can consider that this is the best philosophy. Who are you? You are just a Christian. You don't know anything. You're just a Muslim. What do you know? And so that sort of comparison and looking down on other people, it's a very natural, but it's a very negative and destructive attitude. And you're right, it can develop like that, And it can come out in many forms. It can come out hatred toward other religions, or not hatred, but say judgmentalism, that I'm better than you. It can even come out in the form of racism, that I'm better than you. Look at me, I'm a white person, I'm better than you, you're Indian. Or I'm Indian, I'm better than a white person because I'm born from Indian. Okay, I'm African. And these things, that means we've missed the first lesson, you're not this body. But even in Krishna conscious practice, if we don't understand these things and we enter the practice, it is very easy, you're right, to get into this superiority complex. We have to watch out for these things. We have to. These are very natural things. We cannot pretend they are not there. We have to recognize them and get rid of them. If there's some dirt in the house, some soil and some dust, we can't just walk around and pretend it's not there. You have to clean it. So certainly it's a very natural. Dust in the house is not the problem. When we don't clean it, that's when the problem starts. Okay. And then of course some people will consider us narrow-minded, but we know that we are not narrow-minded. So what people consider, we can do a couple of things. We can explain to them why we are not sectarian. If we were narrow-minded, we would not have ISKCON so many different devotees from so many backgrounds. If we say this is only for Indians, only for Hindus, only for, then why all over the world ISKCON is there in China, Japan, and US, and South America, and Europe, and Africa? Why is that? Why are so many devotees coming from? So certainly we are not narrow-minded, but we are fixed-minded. We fix our mind on the spirit, the spiritual aspect of life. It's not a religion, actually, Krishna consciousness. It's a science that we follow. It looks like a religion because it has some religious similarities, but it's not a religion like an ordinary form of just applying some faith to some club. No. It's a science that we apply. So when we explain from that point of view, then people realize that we are not narrow-minded. But generally, that's easy to come to that conclusion, you know. So we have to gradually educate them. Okay, so the question from M. Ndirangu, can Japa be translated into other languages like English? It becomes easy and more clearer when you pray in a language you're more familiar with and understand what you're saying, just like Gita has been translated. Very good question. So, what is, sorry, who, I just want to ask, M. Ndirangu, what is your name, Prabhu? Or Mataji, I don't quite see. Can you?
Mercy.
Huh?
Mercy. Mercy, can you please unmute yourself? Yeah, that's Mercy.
Hare Krishna. Mercy, right? That's a nice name.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, very good, very good. So that's a good question. And your last name is Ndirangu, right? Ndirangu. Yeah.
That's my surname.
Surname. That's, yeah, surname, last name. Okay, okay. So just like that. Now, there is a value to the name. You see, if I found out the meaning of Ndirangu and translated into Gujarati, and I called you by that, forget about English. And if I called you by that, you wouldn't even recognize it. Are you calling me? There is something valuable about the name itself. So the Maha-Mantra is not really a statement as such, it is the name. You see. Now, suppose that somebody is a chairman of a company, and the chairman of the company's name is Mr. Ndirangu. Now, imagine if he goes to his house and everybody in his house just calls him chairman. Chairman, come here. Chairman, what would you like to drink? Chairman, you want to have dinner? Chairman, why didn't you clean the house today? Chairman is not his name. You see. So similarly, God is not the name of God. President is not the name of the president. Chairman is not the name of the chairman. It's a title. So Krishna is not a title, it is his name. So there's a big difference in translating. Now, prayer you can translate, but the name, when you translate, it loses the meaning. Also, you can't really translate it, you know, because Krishna's holy name has many, many meanings. Which one are you going to translate? You know, so best is because Krishna has particularly invested his power in this particular name, right? The strength is in the name itself. So you can't really translate a name. Now, when you're explaining it, like right now, I'm talking to you in English. So instead of talking to you in Sanskrit, what would the value of me talking to you in Sanskrit? Even I don't understand, even you don't understand. You see? So when I'm trying to convey a message, I want to talk to you in your language. But I will still call you Mercy Ndirangu. I will not call you, I will not translate your name as part of my conversation with you, right? The name is important. So you can't translate it. But at the same time, you can explain the meaning to somebody that I'm calling the name of God. This particular name means he's all attractive. Hare means the energy of the Lord. It's the name. So that is why we cannot translate it. But we can always explain it. So there's nothing wrong. Just like Gita has been translated, but still we always emphasize that even if you've translated the Gita into Swahili or English or Kikuyu or whatever, doesn't matter. When you learn the original Sanskrit verses, it has a lot of power. We talked about that the last time. So we recite the Sanskrit, then we talk the translation. So even the Sanskrit, even though it's not the name, has some power in it because of the exact words spoken by Krishna. So certainly both should be done, but certainly the name for Japa should be done purely the way it is. Also, it is not that difficult to do. It's not difficult to do. Thank you. Thank you, Mercy. All right. So I think we're out of time for today. I had a whole slideshow to talk about the topic of surrender to Krishna, but that's also a big topic. But I thank you for your time, and I will have to find another slot, another session that we can then go over this slideshow. I think that'll take about 1 hour. We can continue. Question answers also at that time. All right. So thank you once again. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for spending 1.5 hours with us. You have really enlightened us. Thank you so much. And these were burning questions, and I'm sure the group benefited from them.
Yes.
And this brings us, this makes us have another date with you. So we are very grateful for all the questions, for all the devotees who has attended today. Thank you very much. Please join us every day at 8 o'clock. But we have special sessions over the weekend. Thank you very much. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.